2003, ISAS partnered with the Illinois Natural History Survey and Illinois State Water Survey to create a comprehensive plan for the management of natural and archaeological resources within the 69,000 acres comprising the Forest Preserve District of Cook County, which is shown in green on here. While the Forest Preserve holdings comprise approximately 11% of the county, that 11% contains nearly half of the 1,000+ sites that are recorded to date in Cook County. The Forest Preserve parcels coincide with the most culturally sensitive landscapes in Cook County. These are the last remaining relatively undeveloped parcels, and they are present along waterways and wetlands. They are also served as a quick retreat for the 5 million people who reside in the county. Dr. John Rausch recognized the need for green space in Chicago around 1869 when he suggested setting aside park areas in the creation of the Chicago Park District. By 1914, architects Dwight Perkins and Jens Jansen had successfully seen the creation of the Forest Preserve and the setting aside of the initial 20,000 acres of land and included flora and fauna that was to be protected and preserved for itself and the purpose of education, pleasure, and recreation of the public. In the centennial year, the Natural and Cultural Resources Master Plan is intended to provide the tools to preemptively assess the lands of the Forest Preserve to best maintain an optimal health of the preserves, as well as people who frequent them now and into the next century. The land manager will be able to lessen and/or completely remove the potential impact by identifying sensitive areas that contain threatened or endangered species, archaeological sites, or other such non-renewable resources. With the protection of these natural areas, the authors of the Forest Preserve District Act set and reserve an array of sites dating back to the first prehistoric inhabitants of the Midwest. At the end of the last ice age, as glaciers were retreating, they left behind areas of tundra, moraines, eskers, and floodplains. In addition to the glacial lake of Chicago, you can see the extent of glaciation on that last slide there. Paleo and game hunters would have made their way to this area following game, some big game, some small, and traveling in light mobile groups. For the most part, stone tools were usually the only indicator of the site, as this would take special circumstances for preservation over such an early time. So as the tundra retreated further north, the grassland began moving in from the west and eventually met up with the eastern woodlands. This provided a new ecotone called the Prairie Peninsula, and around that time, the archaic hunter-gatherers were active in and around what is now Illinois. With a slightly warmer climate, it was possible to cultivate some plants, such as squash, sunflowers, and native seed plants when in season. Likely due to scarcity of resources, in the winter and early spring, they would disperse into smaller groups, increasing the odds of survival for the season. The woodland period would have brought with it more sedentary lifestyles with foraging and farming. Pottery came onto the scene in full force at this time, as well as the bow and arrow. Living situations would have consisted of villages and small gardens, with the additions of tobacco and corn that would have been introduced. They were also engaged in ritual construction of large earthen mounds that were used as places of interment for the dead and possible locations for ritual meetings. Mississippian peoples are associated with large fortified villages and hierarchical power structure. The villages were primarily year-round residences, and there were trading networks that were present as well. And changes in ceramic styles were there as well. So then we have approximately a 200 to 300 year gap. We begin to see written accounts around the 1670s. And the contact period is the farthest back that the historic record has tribal affiliations. Anything before that, nothing is particularly absolute and couldn't be teased out due to the time gap and the unknown movements of people. A couple of prominent areas within the preserves are associated with historical figures Billy Caldwell of Saugonash and Alexander Robinson. They were both representatives of the Potawatomi Indians of the 1833 treaty that signed away the land rights, requiring the removal of the remaining Indians to the west of Mississippi. And both were compensated with land and a yearly subsidy. The 20th century sites also are becoming of note. Camp Thornton, which was the aerial view that we saw, and a number of other civilian conservation corps camps were eventually used or were utilized as POW camps and then later turned into Girl Scout camps and are no longer, predominantly no longer visible. There's also the world's first nuclear reactor that was rebuilt in what is now the Forest Preserve. All of these time periods that we've shown are represented in various sites and in a range of ecotones within the preserves. They have survived thanks to the foresight of our predecessors, and it's necessary to continue to add their efforts to the next generations. ISAS is gathering and digitizing a wide variety of relevant information from individuals and institutions, assessing the landscape preservation needs, and articulating these concerns in the natural resource scientists and affected constituents. The final plan will be done by December 2014 and include recommendations for 2015. In conjunction with the ISAS, Natural History Survey and Water Survey, it will provide means for a holistic view for resources within the preserves that allows us to be aware of the past, living the present, and look towards the future.